Good morning again. We are in our second week of Proverbs, and I hope that everyone is reading. I took some time this week and caught up, only to not read yesterday. But while I was catching up, I was like, man, Proverbs is so good. Like, it's just like thick, you know, because it's like hitting you from all directions. Yeah, it's really good. Also, this floor is sticky and every step I take is making me so mad. Oh my gosh. Like, I thoroughly understand why my dad would be like, you did not mop this kitchen. Like, yes, I did. Like, no, you didn't. No, you didn't. Okay, let's just get it out right now so Jesus can take over and do his thing. So we are in week 2 of our biblical Twitter series, and this week chapter 11 is all about righteousness. Righteousness is where it's at. I will be honest, I had a very hard time in the beginning of the week. Jenny being gone and Trey aside, I had a hard time just like, how do you tie this together, you know? And then Thursday, went to Blackwater, sat down, and Jesus knocked it out. And I was like, thank you, Lord. This week it was Jesus, me, and Nipsey Hussle. And got it done. Got it done. So righteousness is where it's at. That's what we're talking about today. Yeah. So we will start the sermon. See? Instead of saying, let's jump into it. Anyway. Progress, bit by bit. So like I said, the overall theme of chapter 11 in Proverbs is righteousness. But before we read chapter 11, like we did last week with wisdom and knowledge and understanding what that means, I want to set the ground rules for what righteousness is so that we have an understanding as we begin to read it. So righteousness is the attitude and actions God has and expects his people to maintain. The attitude and actions that God has and further expects his people to maintain. Righteousness. It is the attitude and the actions that God has and wants or expects his people, children, whatever word you want to put in there, to maintain. Not to dibble and dabble, not to like have it sometimes, but to maintain. There are things that I do with my car to maintain it, to keep it running. There are things that I do to maintain my body. There are things that I do to maintain a good work environment at my job. There are things that I do on a Sunday morning to maintain what this looks like and that Jesus will be here. So that is what we're talking about. Righteousness is the attitude and action that God has and expects his people to maintain. God wants us to be like him. Dad wants us to be like him. It is that simple. It is so simple. So that means that the righteous person or the righteous or the upright or the one with the integrity, as we'll read through chapter 11, that person is the one who has conformed to the given standard. So if I am righteous, I have conformed to God's righteousness. That's what that means. I have conformed to God's righteousness. Instead of conforming to anything else, I have conformed to God's righteousness. Now, the cool thing about Jesus and life is you have forever to achieve this. This is not something that right now, today, you're gonna just do it and you're good to go. Please take that off the table right now. This is not a like one-time thing, and now all of a sudden, I don't even get mad about people saying crazy stuff on Facebook. No, you are still going to get mad about people saying crazy stuff on Facebook. You're a human being. Jesus understands that. That's why he came and died on the cross, because he was like, these people crazy. They can't do it without me. So let me like help them out. You know what I'm saying? So the righteous person, the righteous one, is the one who conforms to the given standard. And the given standard is God saying, I am this. These are my thoughts. These are my actions. And I expect you to maintain this as I maintain this. So the righteous one is the one who does that. We're going to set the stage a little more before we get into the scripture. So first, we have Jesus and righteousness. When we look at, we're going to look at Jesus and then we'll look at Paul. So I'm like, that's in my notes, but it's right here. So Matthew 5, verse 6, Jesus is explaining the Beatitudes, and we thoroughly walked through the Beatitudes in our What About Me series. What about me, Jesus? This. Here you go, the Beatitudes. You want to chase something? You want to feel something? You want to do something? Here it is, the Beatitudes. No, I don't want that. I want like comfort. Too bad, comfort's not in here. Only thing I'm satisfying is a craving of righteousness. That's it. But that's what Jesus says in the Beatitudes. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they will be filled. They will be satisfied. And we talked about that hunger and thirst is a craving for righteousness, craving for God's actions and thoughts towards me, that I can maintain it. And then God says, that's what you want? Sure, here you go. You can maintain it. Here it is. You have conformed to what I'm doing. Oh, then in Matthew 6:33, Jesus is talking about not being anxious. Put your treasures in heaven. Where your treasures are, there is where your heart will be. So when we put them in people and things and TV shows, football teams, I'm a Jets fan, it's hard. It's rough. It's rough. But Jesus has never let me down. Jesus has never said, you know what, this year we coming out strong and then finish the season 5-11. Jesus has never done that to me. The Jets did last year. But Jesus has not. Jesus has never let me down. So that is why he's saying, don't be anxious. And then he finishes that section of scripture and he says, seek first the kingdom of heaven and all his righteousness, and then all of these things will be added unto you. All the things of comfort, all the things of love, all the things of joy, all of these things will be added unto you. But you first have to seek the kingdom and righteousness. So then we have Paul, and he wrote an entire book. The book of Romans is all about God and his righteousness. So in this letter to the Romans, Paul is writing to non-Jews to help them understand what Christianity is. He's like, yo, here's the deal. God started this thing. Man messed it up. The Jews didn't want it. And so Jesus came, died for them, rose from the grave, gave us the Holy Spirit. Some of the Jews are still like, nah, we don't need that. We got, laws and tradition. And Paul's like, hey, you guys want this? Because here it is. You benefit from their loss. But all through the book of Romans, he's explaining righteousness, righteousness, righteousness. God's righteousness, God's attitude, God's actions, what he expects from us. If you are going to come and be adopted into this family with dad, there are rules in this house. Dad expects us not to be crazy when we leave the house. You can be a little crazy at home, but like when we leave, you should be like, there's a line here. And I go, anybody who had one strict parent at least, you understand that. My dad was like, no, you are Owens, take that do-rag off. All right. One time got called into the office during PE. And I'm like, okay, whatever. Well, everybody was like sagging their shorts, I got 2 teachers in there and my parents. So I walk in looking cool, and my dad said, pull your shorts up. And I think my shorts were like this high and I'm sitting there like, you know? But that was the Owens standard. You're not going to walk around looking crazy when legitimately you bear my name. And so what people see and hear of you is a reflection of me. So when God says, hey, I need you to have and maintain righteousness, it's bigger than what you feel every day. It's bigger than that. So both Jesus and Paul were Jews who knew the importance of righteousness. They both knew the Old Testament very well. So if they understood righteousness and made multiple points to show us the way to righteousness, this is where Proverbs 11 comes into play. It gives us the why righteousness is important. Jesus, Paul, he wrote a whole book. Jesus seek this first, crave it. And Proverbs 11 gives us the why. I'm going to read this whole thing, so buckle your seatbelts. Every now and then I'll give you a verse marker so you know how many verses we got to go. It's 31, so just me when I'm sitting there, somebody has a slideshow, I'm like, how many slides are in this? Just let me know, And you're like, oh, 62? Okay, we're in for it, But at least I know. So if you're like me, it's 31 verses, and every now and then I'll throw out a number for you. Verse 1. A false balance is an abomination to the Lord, but a just weight is his delight. When pride comes, then comes disgrace, but the humble is wisdom. The integrity of the upright guides them, but the crookedness of the treacherous destroys them. Riches do not profit in the day of wrath, but righteousness delivers from death. The righteousness of the blameless keeps his way straight, but the wicked falls by his own wickedness. Verse 6, the righteousness of the upright delivers them, but the treacherous are taken captive by their lust. When the wicked dies, his hope will perish, and the expectation of wealth perishes too. The righteous is delivered from trouble, and wicked walks into it instead. With his mouth the godless man would destroy his neighbor, but by knowledge the righteous are delivered. When it goes well with the righteous, the city rejoices. When the wicked perish, there are shouts of gladness. By the blessing of the upright, a city is exalted, but by the mouth of the wicked it is overthrown. Verse 12, whoever belittles his neighbor lacks sense, but a man of understanding remains silent. Whoever goes about slandering reveals secrets, but he who is trustworthy in spirit keeps a thing covered. Where there is no guidance, a people falls, but in an abundance of counselors there is safety. Whoever puts up security for a stranger will surely suffer harm, but he who hates striking hands in pledge is secure. A gracious woman gets honored, and violent men get riches. A man who is kind benefits himself, but a cruel man hurts himself. The wicked earns deceptive wages, but one who sows righteousness gets a sure reward. Whoever is steadfast in righteousness will live, but he who pursues evil will die. Verse 20, those of crooked heart are an abomination to the Lord, but those of blameless ways are his delight. Be assured, an evil person will not go unpunished, but the offspring of the righteous will be delivered. Like a gold ring in a pig's snout is a beautiful woman without discretion. The desire of the righteous ends only in good, the expectation of the wicked in wrath. One gives freely, yet grows all the richer. Another withholds what he should give and only suffers want. Whoever brings blessing will be enriched, and one who waters himself will be watered. Verse 26, the people curse him who holds back grain, but a blessing is on the head of him who sells it. Whoever diligently seeks good seeks favor, but evil comes to him who searches for it. Whoever trusts in his riches will fall, but the righteous will flourish like a green leaf. Whoever troubles his own household will inherit the wind, and the fool will be servant to the wise of heart. The fruit of the righteous is a tree of life, and whoever captures souls is wise. In verse 31, if the righteous is repaid on earth, how much more the wicked and the sinner? Tons going on here, like we said, a lot of random things, but overall, righteousness is the thickness of it. So we're just going to jump into, dang it. We're just going to jump into it. Last week I said I was going to stop saying that, So I'm working on it right now, like in the moment. So righteousness. Again, like last week, we're not going to deal with the evil or the wicked or those who do fall into the trouble or those who inherit the wind or any of those things, because we've lived enough of that life. And I think it's unnecessary. If we focus on Jesus, we can just get closer to Jesus. As righteousness takes over, those things fall away anyway. So righteousness. Verse 3, it says it guides. Verse 5 says it keeps your way straight. So when I crave the attitude and the actions of God, he satisfies my craving. And as I am satisfied, it produces in my life and then further guides my steps. So my thought process when it comes to walking, this is crazy. This one hit me so good in Blackwater, I had to get up and go tell the girls that were working and then come back and finish the point. So in learning to walk, and crazy, a year ago today, like Trey took his first steps. So in learning to walk, it is a very deliberate thought process. You know what I'm saying? You're like, balance. Oh, wait, don't move. Move this leg now. Okay. You know what I'm saying? So much so that all of us, we don't congratulate each other for walking because you don't even think about it anymore. So when it says righteousness guides my steps, if I crave it, Jesus fills me with it, I am satisfied, and it guides my steps so much that I don't have to think about living a life of righteousness. It guides my steps without me even thinking. Until the floor is sticky, it's not an issue for me to walk back and forth. I can talk, I can think, I can click, I can read, all these things while walking. Walking is something that I took care of a long time ago. And it's the same thing. It says he will guide your steps. None of us think about walking. We don't even think about it. I get up and I don't even process the actions that I need to get over there. Literally, it's just like, I'm going over there, like right now. It's already happening. And that's what he says. Righteousness will guide your steps, but it will only guide your steps if you are conforming to righteousness. And always, in the beginning, it's so hard. Are you sure this is the righteousness that, you know what I'm saying? Looking like Bambi out here in righteousness, like, you know? But that's not how Bambi walked forever. And so it's the same thing. Righteousness in the beginning is going to be hard. It's going to be shaky. I don't know if I can trust it. And then you're starting to move a little fast and you see the table and you dodge it and you're like, oh, snap. I guess I know what I'm doing now. But righteousness will do that. I don't even think about it. Further, it delivers us from death. And this is death being the sin that intends to kill us spiritually, like a disease in the body. Like that word death, the definition of when you look it up in your study Bible that you got. When you look it up, it says the intent of disease. So thankfully, medicine, we have it today, like helps us not die to disease. And that's what this death is. This is the death that is intended to kill us spiritually. It delivers us from lust. Now, this is not lust in the strict form of sexual lust. This is lust as in evil desires. Well, I don't have any of those either. Well, evil desires legitimately is anything that is hampering my relationship with God. Not like I want to watch TV and God is not in TV. Not like that. No, like Jesus wants you to take a break and rest your mind so you can recharge. Duh. But we're talking about lust as things that when they go unchecked lead us to destruction. So it could be video games that are killing my relationships. It could be my desire to love somebody or something so much out of myself, not out of Jesus, that I destroy the relationship. It could be food that does not allow my body to function as God intended. This is the lust that righteousness will save us from. That makes sense? Trouble. Self-inflicted, not good situations. Not trouble like, oh, my tire blew. I knew it, right? You're right, Lord. My righteousness is not happening today, so this is payback. Like, God is not sitting up there petty like us. Like, he's not taking screenshots and like, sending it to friends. Look what they said, like, he's not. But these are things that I know I shouldn't do or say. That kind of trouble. Trey does it all the time. Son, do not do that anymore. Oh, you were there. Don't throw your food. I love that this is up here. Don't throw your food anymore. And he goes. He didn't throw it, but I'm going to still pop that leg because I told you not to throw the food. I know what your intent was. Those things that get us in trouble, the things that I know I should not do or say, those things. The kind of trouble that when you ask a kid why they did something and they say, that kind of trouble. That was in my notes. It delivers us from punishment. Righteousness delivers us from punishment. This is good. This is really good. So this punishment is a generational punishment. In Exodus 20 and 34, and then in Numbers 14, God says that he will visit the sins of the father to the third and fourth generations. A lot of us have heard that, and for the most part, it's like, I really don't understand. What does that mean? Is God just showing up 4 generations later and is like, your great-great-granddad was the worst. Time to pay up. You're like, oh, well, I don't even know him. You're like, this is not my fault, No, that's not what he means. It means, verse 21 first says that the righteousness will deliver your offspring. Chapter 11, verse 21. The righteousness will deliver your offspring. And this verse correlates to God visiting the sins of the father to the third and fourth generation. So where righteousness delivers my offspring, as long as my family continues to live in sin, my kids grow up seeing nothing but sin, guess what they do? They just sin. And not, again, we know what sin we're talking about. They're just not living the life that Jesus wants them to live. So then 2, 3, 4 generations, God is still visiting those sins. It's a generational thing. So when it says righteousness will deliver your offspring, I have to be the one of my family that says no more. And so as I get righteousness, as I conform to God's actions and thoughts, my actions and thoughts change. And then the children that I give birth to only see righteousness. And so then righteousness is what delivers my children from what my family has done for generations. That makes sense? Righteousness will deliver your offspring from what God said. I will visit the sins of the father to the third and fourth generation because nobody is breaking the cycle with righteousness. All he said was amen, because my parents are breaking the cycles. I know what's up. He was like, thank you, mom and dad. But that's what that means. My righteousness breaks the cycles. And I go, there are a lot of things that both Jenny and I, our parents, dads are both pastors. There are still things in our families that we still have to break for Trey and the baby she's pregnant with. You know what I'm saying? Because nobody's perfect. So there are still things that we have to stand up in righteousness to deliver our children from, that our families still dealt with. Now, granted, our parents are much better than the generation before them, but it still has to be broken, and righteousness is what delivers your children from that punishment. That's crazy. That makes sense? Okay. So righteousness, like I said, is where it's at. And as we close, not like right now, but it's a little bit. I know. I got you. It's like these are my last 3 points. I want to end with how good the righteousness really is. Like when I actually conform and I actually become the righteous person. And again, it's going to be different avenues of my life as I keep giving things to God and keep asking for more righteousness. There are things that are naturally going to move easier. Those generational things are going to take longer. But the things that I picked up myself, because I was like, I don't want to do what my parents said. Now I'm 21. I'm going to drink and party every week. Like those things that I picked up later, those are the easier things. It's the deep-rooted generational things that righteousness has to work getting out of our lives. But verse 23 says, the desire of the righteous ends only in good, the expectation of the wicked in wrath. 27, whoever diligently seeks good seeks favor, but evil comes to him who searches for it. The fruit of the righteous is a tree of life, and whoever captures souls is wise. The desire of the righteous ends only in good. That's crazy, because all of us are like, no, I've had a lot of things end bad. Yeah, that's because you're waking up and you're like, it's Monday. You know what I'm saying? I was thinking that this morning. I was like, dang, Monday. Andy Mineo says that. He's like, I got Monday, but he's like, I get to get back to work. It's all in what I see. So if my mind is righteous and I am having God's thoughts and actions, and I'm trying to maintain that, my attitude about Monday is different. God is like outside of time, so he's not even tripping about Mondays. But even if he were, I don't think he would be tripping about Mondays. He'd be like, let's go, new week. Heck yeah. You know what I'm saying? So the desire of the righteous only ends in good. How is that, Rafer? Because I only desire the things that my dad desires. My dad wants nothing but good. You think my dad wants cancer? You think my dad wants sickness? You think my dad wants us to be petty? You think my dad wants division? No. He doesn't want those things. He wants us to go and share his love. He wants us to show up in an attitude that says, I'm here to change the atmosphere in this room. He wants us to live with wisdom. He wants us to have quality of life. We just want a different path to that quality. So when the desires in me become those of my dad, everything ends in good. Well, Rafer, not everything. No, that's what my Bible says. It says the desire of the righteous ends only in good. It ends only in good. Only ends in good. However you want to say it, there is only one option for the desire of the righteous. Good. That's crazy. So if I'm in situations and I'm walking away going, I just don't get it. I don't understand. Why are they like that? Guess what? My desire wasn't that of a righteous person. I should be able to walk away and go, man, we disagree, but that was good. Okay, that was good. Because my desire is just to get some love and understanding like we talked about last week. That's it. That's crazy. The one who diligently seeks good seeks favor. When I seek good from my desire, I also seek the acceptance, the pleasure, and the delight of God. So when I'm finding that acceptance and God is smiling down on me, I know those moments. It's a different feeling. It's a different time. It's a different kind of day. It's a difference in my interactions. Nothing else even matters. Jesus said, I'm good, man. I'm good. There's nothing else that matters. When I actually seek good, I'm really seeking favor with God. And what does God want me to have? Righteousness. Jesus says it later. Seek first the kingdom and his righteousness. Crave. If you are craving something, you are going to seek it out. Your righteous fruit is a tree of life. Guess who gets to eat the fruit of this tree? You first. Your righteous fruit is a tree of life. You legitimately get to enjoy the fruit of the righteous labor. There are things that I don't think about. There are things I'm not worried about. There are things that is just different. I have a peace because I'm chasing something different. And when I'm chasing something different, the verse just said, I will get good. Good is coming my way. And I'm not talking like, oh yeah, I found $20, or like, you know, I don't have to budget my money all of a sudden because good is coming my way. No, because the righteousness will have you budget, which is going to point you back to wisdom that we talked about last week. Like, but the good is different. And so this tree of life that I am, this fruit that is producing, I get to eat from this fruit. You get to eat from that fruit. My family gets to eat from that fruit. People I work with get to eat from that fruit. So when you're at work and one of the instructors is mad at a student and he's sitting there sermon prepping and he's like, yo, mostly he was joking, but there's a tree of life sitting here. And he comes over and he goes, I need something right now. And he grabs my Bible and like flips it open. He's like, I'm mad. I need something right now. And I go, granted, he was mostly joking, but kind of serious. Give me something. I need something. But he knew where the tree of life was. He knew where the fruit was. And it's on me to continue to produce the righteous fruit so that this tree of life can give life. That makes sense? So as we go into the holy place, that's the prayer today. Not that I become righteous, but like, Lord, help me legitimately look at the things where your righteousness is not. And if he gives you a list, sure, now you have a list. If he gives you one thing that he wants you to work on or think about for the next week, so be it. But again, craving this righteousness, the dividends are huge. And the payoff is crazy deep for generations to come. If I keep doing the things that my family has done, Trey doesn't get the life that God intended. And he's got to work that much harder to get to the life that God intended. It's a shockwave happening. It's just a ripple effect. So it's bigger than like tomorrow's Monday already. Again, flip that mindset. But this week, God, righteousness, whatever that looks like between me and you, let's go get it. Let's go get it. So this song is going to play. The song is going to play. And let it become your prayer. Let it become your prayer. Also, this song is Nani's fault. So here you go.